Ladies and gentlemen, your hosts of One Song, Diallo and Luxury.
Oh man, thank you for having us. Las Vegas, how you feel?
Thank you. Welcome, Vegas. We love you.
We would be remiss, there's that word already. We would be remiss if we didn't say RIP to the legend Fat Man Scoop, hip hop icon. Make some noise for Scoop.
We are so stoked for today. We're so glad you guys could come and join us. Today's song is one of the top party jams of the 90s, so you came to the right one. And beyond, it peaked at #1 on the Billboard R&B and hip hop songs chart in 1990, certified quadruple platinum. Anyone want to guess, by the way? Actually, I'd be curious. You've never done this before with an audience. Anyone want to hazard a guess? Couple more clues. No guesses quite yet. All right, what about you? Give them a couple more clues.
Oh, we will. Listen, this song dominated mainstream radio, MTV, barbecues, ushered in a new era of R&B, and if you learn anything from this group and their lyrics, it's that you should never, ever trust a big butt and a smile.
We know what it is now. That gave it away.
We're coming to you live from Las Vegas.
It's one song, and that song is Poison.
Poison by Belle Biv DeVoe.
Let's hear it. There's the
Never
line.
trust it. You know, I went around trusting big butts and smiles until I heard that
Up
song.
until this song.
I learned a lot.
Up until this song.
I am actor, writer, director, and sometimes DJ Diallo Riddle.
And I'm producer, DJ, songwriter, musicologist, Luxury, also known as the guy who talks about interpolation on the internet.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do.
What's going on, Vegas? How y'all doing?
Hello.
Listen. We have a very special guest with us today. He's a Grammy-nominated R&B singer, songwriter, producer, and actor. You've heard his hit songs, When We, Maybe I Deserve, Please Don't Go. He's also written and produced some of the steamiest, sexiest songs for the likes of Beyonce, Aaliyah, Jamie Foxx, Alicia Keys, Jennifer Hudson. And if that wasn't enough, he co-hosts the amazing R&B podcast with his friend and producer, Jay Valentine. Trust us, this man stays busy. And he knows his R&B from front to back. Las Vegas, make some noise for Tank. Woo! Tank in the building.
Welcome to One Song. Tank. Get on up here. We are ready.
We're just gonna go woo for 40 minutes.
Diallo, right?
It is Diallo, yes.
That's a great name.
Thank you.
Okay, I saw you getting your eyebrows
Really?
arched in the.
Really, Tank, that's how you
No,
want to start this?
I just want to say that was very R&B of you. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, well, you know,
Fair
I mean,
point.
To make sure that listen, it was she threw a little gel on it and clumped it right at the end, and he came out looking like he's got a hit record on the radio. I'm just trying to tell you.
Thank you, man. I'm frequently mistaken for an R&B artist. You're lucky I have on a shirt right now because so much going on right here.
And then Luxury.
Yeah. You got something for me.
That is a hell of a name. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You've been
I'm
laying.
gonna take it at face value.
You've been laying some mean, luxurious pipe in the community in order to get that name.
All right.
That's how it starts.
That's
It's always
fine.
a woman that names you that says, "Ooh, boy, that was luxurious
All
what you
right.
did to me last night." Luxury.
It's always a woman who names you. Who named you Tank?
My grandmother.
Oh, really?
Yep. I was a baby. I had a big head and a big stomach, and I was running around making a gang of noise. And my cousins used to talk about me and say, "Yeah, Tank head boy need to sit down somewhere. You're making too much noise." And my grandmother, in defense of me, "But that's my Tank head boy. That's my Tank. Leave my Tank alone."
Aw.
And I became Tank from that day on. I wish I had a better story. I wish I had
No,
a
that's actually
story like
heartwarming.
Luxury.
I'm
I
going to
was
use
hoping
your
it was
story
something
now.
goofy.
That's a better story than it
That's
really
a-
I
is.
wish I was tanking some shit, and she said, "Boy, you really tanked that." But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It also sounds like it didn't go right. If you tanked it, yeah.
Too aggressive.
Well, listen, thank you for coming on the show. And we had talked about like maybe doing one of your songs, but we're so excited that you decided to come on here and talk about Poison's Belle Biv DeVoe
Yeah.
on your Johnny Gill episode. of R&B Money, you mentioned that your first concert was New Edition during their Heartbreak Tour in 1988. What was that experience like, and what impact did it have on your career?
Man, crazy. So this goes back to the album, the record player times. We got any people who listen to music on the record players
We got a few.
with the needle? You have no idea what I'm talking about. Needle.
He's like, needles.
Needle. And so my dad brought this album home, Any Heartbreak, and I started listening to this album from front to back. As soon as the needle dropped, when I would come home from school, I would listen to this album from front to back.
Wow.
Stop, turn it over, listen to the rest of it. And it just, from the production to the songwriting to the vocals, everything. And I'm a church kid, so for me, you know, this is really my introduction into R&B music.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this, I'll say this album, Guy,
Yes.
Anita Baker.
Okay.
Those were my intros into real R&B music.
You didn't.
So
Your parents weren't listening to like I don't know Stevie Wonder, like anything.
I
Marvin
had
Gaye?
heard those songs in passing because my
Okay.
cousins who were older, who were defiant of the church, they still went, but you know they was on their sin game too. You know what I'm saying? So they was in the
Right.
streets too. So I would hear these songs in passing. But I mean, if it wasn't the Mississippi Mass Choir or the Mighty Clouds
really?
of Joy or the Williams Brothers or, you know, if it wasn't Reverend James Cleveland, it wasn't getting no real
okay.
play in my house.
Interesting.
It wasn't.
Got
So
it.
when we moved, and I moved with my mom and my dad to Maryland, he got stationed there. That's when I kind of got introduced to R&B, and it was through these albums. So
Yeah.
I'm begging my dad, I have to go to this concert. Please, can I go to this concert?
And here's what's crazy is that you're going to be going on tour with Belby DeVoe as part of
Yeah.
TGT,
Yeah.
which is Tyrese, Genuine, and yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a full circle moment. You're literally going on a tour with the people who put on the first concert you ever saw.
It went even more full circle than that, maybe about, 2 years ago, Lou, was it? About 2 years ago? I actually opened for the New Edition tour. So it was me, Guy, Keith Sweat, and New Edition.
Wow.
Their big anniversary tour. And I was
Yeah.
like, you gotta be kidding me. They were like, Tank, would you
That's
open?
incredible.
I was like, I'm not an opener. But for New Edition,
Make an exception.
I will warm these chairs the fuck up. I will warm them. It was me, the chairs, and the people putting the chairs down, and the ushers, and it was just us. I was just doing my songs and shit.
Right.
But it was amazing because the impact that they had on me as an R&B songwriter, producer, and singer for that matter, they are the origin. They are the fabric for me.
You mentioned like all of the specific musical components that you were inspired by. Was there the vocals? It sounds like might have been number one, but you were saying production as well. Like, what about the production? What about the music making inspired you? And were you at the time writing and/or producing music yourself?
I was trying.
You were trying.
I was in
Yeah.
my embryo stages of trying to
Yeah.
figure it out.
How
I
were
was,
you trying to? What did you have?
I was writing gospel songs still,
Okay.
church kid.
Yeah.
So I'm writing from my little, my piano, my little keyboard
Okay.
that mom's giving me at that time. I didn't know about, the sequencers and all
Sure.
these things. And so when I finally get something that's remotely close to like, this Casio with a few tracks on it, I'm noticing that this Casio doesn't have none of those sounds.
Yeah, it's a little dinky sounding.
that are
yeah.
on the
It's not the
album.
radio. Yeah.
I always like the little bossa nova setting. I didn't know what bossa nova
it
was.
starts
but
there.
Right? Those beats are not they're not awesome beats.
It's not so immediately I'm learning, okay, there are levels to sounds and sonics and things that you have to have in order to be in that space. And so I was just attracted to those sounds and I was like, how do I get those sounds?
Well, that's
How
the
can I
thing. In the
sound
era,
like
we
that?
don't know how to get those sounds yet because there isn't YouTube and 1,000 tutorials.
There's
How
nothing.
How did you start to decipher, like, I want an 808 or whatever it is? Like, how did you, like, start to get what you wanted sonically?
I got better equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go to the music store. This is when I first got my first like synthesizer because I had a keyboard. You know the difference.
Right.
Then I first got a synthesizer with sounds galore.
So you had choices of sounds. And could you, like, kind of sequence some ideas together?
I had 8 tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Now on these 8 tracks, I could merge a couple things on these tracks, right? And so I had to learn, of course, that's when you learn polyphony, right? That's when you learn that.
You can do more
game.
one thing at a time.
or
Yeah,
you
more than
can't
one
play
key,
a
but more
bunch
than
of
one
things.
note at a time, even. Yeah.
So now I'm learning to simplify my chords and all of these things so I can have room for the bass and then
Yeah.
have room for the nylon guitar,
Right.
which was very R&B back then. Who's bending a nylon guitar anymore? Nobody, right? Just Brian Michael Cox and JD, right?
Right.
So it was those things, and then I started discovering sampling. Because if you listen to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, a lot of the sonic component that they own is the industrial sonic.
Right.
Like
yeah,
they're-
we interviewed him. We talked about that
Yeah.
exact thing. You're right. He
And
said
they,
the same
they
thing.
come into the story because it was actually Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis who suggested when New Edition finished
Right.
the Heartbreak album, everybody was going off and doing solo projects. It's actually Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis who suggested, hey, you guys should form your own group over here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's what's
Velvet
even crazier
Rope.
about that is that,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if you guys know, but I was in the New Edition story as Gerald Busby, as the guy who orchestrated
Oh, no way.
all of that.
It's
Okay.
so there's so many
It's
full
crazy.
circles.
And guess who gave me my first 2 checks as a producer?
Jimmy Jam.
Jam and
Terry
Lewis.
Gerald Busby.
Oh, Joe Busby.
Okay.
There you go.
There it is.
Then I end up playing
You
him.
are part of this story. You are
Bro,
part
I'm
of
in
the
here.
story.
I'm in here.
Yeah, you're in there.
Whether they like it or not.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about Poison today, was there something about Poison, the song Poison, for you specifically that inspired you? Is this song?
I'll tell
what's
you,
the
bro.
story of Tank and Poison?
Big butts and smiles. That's universal, right? That's
Right.
in church too, right? So it's like you waiting for offering time, like this. Yeah, she got one on her, you know what I'm saying? But musically, you know, Poison is so not normal. It was so not normal of a song for its time. I always give BBD the credit as being the first R&B and hip hop group. They are the first
Totally agree.
to merge that as a unit.
And at the
Yeah.
time, that was kind of an unusual.
It
That was a
wa- it
crazy
was completely
choice.
unusual.
Yeah, that was a risky choice.
We have a rapper and a singer. This is way before the Fugees.
Yeah,
We have a rapper and a singer
right.
and a dancer, and we're dancing.
Yeah,
Because
no.
if you start, once you get into hip hop, the dancing kind of goes out the window. It's not cool to be hip hop and dance.
It's an interesting time. We always say that New Jack Swing walked so hip hop soul could run.
Talk to talk.
Was the way that it would.
Talk to talk.
Real quick, we want to talk about Hank and Keith Shockley.
Exactly to your point, we have the story of Belle Biv DeVoe, just kind of like setting up the song that we'll be getting into and breaking down the stems and
Yeah.
listening to it in a way you've never heard before. We're going to get isolated vocals, isolated drums, the whole nine. It does start, as we mentioned, the Jam and Lewis just plants the idea in these young boys' heads. Let's get this to be, let's be a group. Let's
Yeah.
do our own thing. And what's kind of funny about this actually is that they wanted Jam and Lewis, but the way they tell the story, actually it was Ricky Bell, that they couldn't afford Jam and Lewis. And they couldn't afford Teddy Riley. They couldn't afford Babyface. So they start going to the Bomb Squad, Public
Yep.
Enemy's producers is where this story begins. So they go into the studio the first time and they're in their New Edition gear. And they're like wearing the suits. They're like, they are thinking of themselves as a boy band. And it's really this moment with Hank Shockley, one of the 2 brothers in the Bomb Squad. He says he doesn't feel the vibe, so he sends them uptown to go shopping with his brother. And they come back for the first time with not the R&B suits, with kind of more of a street look, as he
Yeah.
puts it. And this starts to get the vibe, just the clothes begins to get them in the spirit of like, well, let's do something, let's mix it up a little bit sonically, what we're doing with the music as well.
Yeah.
I really like
You'll
that.
actually see some of it in the music video, and I got to bring up the music video.
Yeah.
Poison is one of these songs with an absolutely iconic music video. Let's talk about the choreo. They're dancing on the streets. They're in the club. They're on a basketball court for some reason. They're dancing in a schoolyard, but wherever they are, their moves are smooth and on point. Can we pull up the choreography? Stream to the music? I mean,
Come on, man. Come on.
come on now.
Give it up. Give it up for the choreo.
Come on.
You gotta love that choreo.
For those of you watching on YouTube, I mean, like, you really appreciate that. For some of y'all who still listen to only the audio, find us on YouTube. You know, search One Song Podcast, because we got that clip. That is like, I think we knew all those moves. I knew some of them.
They made dancing cool. Like it's not cool. Like how many hip hop artists do you know that dance?
Nowadays,
In 1990,
I know one.
it was like Hammer.
I know
guess.
one.
Yeah.
Offset.
Okay. The end.
That's
the
it.
list. That's the list.
But I mean,
It's not many.
he's kind of living out his Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? His desire to be in that space, and he's
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah.
He's dope at it too, which is really cool. But hip hop is not known for dancing, so they brought something. You know what I'm saying? Because back in the day, hip hop would dance. Heavy D would dance. Like those guys, like were moving, but now it's like it's this hybrid of a thing.
Right. It's a whole new. It's,
It's
a whole new,
new
animal.
world,
Yeah,
man.
It's a whole new world.
I want to point out one more thing. There was the fashion.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that these guys set a lot of trends. It's easy to forget the fashion. They went from that dapper look
Right.
into like this baseball caps, bucket hats, mismatched Timbs, high tops, bomber jackets. Can you show us a quick clip from the fashion?
Relationships
Yeah.
they seen from the start.
I was just thinking about that.
It's also when love is
The parkas? Let's not forget about the parkas, because like we got Oasis are coming back now with the parkas. No, this is where the parkas came from. Oasis got it from these guys.
They went from "Can you stand the rain" to
Yes.
"Can you sell drugs in the rain." This is what's happening right here. This is what's happening. Like those big old coats. Why do you have that big old coat and there's no snow here? You're hiding something. You're hiding things.
I did see that. I was like, how cold was it out there that day?
Yeah, it wasn't cold at all.
We got to talk real quick about the graphics in the video as well, and that Chiron. For those of you who haven't seen it in a while, you'll remember there was a Chiron that ran along the bottom that said, "Our music is mentally hip-hop, smooth out on the R&B tip with a pop appeal to it." What the hell does this mean?
It means I know we did that, but we trying to do this.
Yes.
Yes. It was like their musical mission statement.
That's it.
No, it really was.
I think Michael Bivins also was just a big fan of like Chirons, because you remember like in
Like
Boys
CNN.
and Men, it was
He
like
liked CNN.
there was always something coming up.
Yeah, okay. I mean, like you
docu.
said, it's a mission. It was a mission
was a
statement
mission
because they knew they had stumbled onto something that just hadn't
was
been
special.
done before. It was
And
special.
that was new.
And we want to tell you exactly what it is so that you'll know how to articulate.
And
this
the,
is what we are.
the mission statement, it's in the video, in their interviews, they'll say it all the time, mentally hip-hop, smooth that R&B tip, pop feel. It also kind of frames something new. It kind of gives the audience who are like maybe about to hear the new thing, and you know the expression, the shock of the new. Often people will be like, this isn't what I'm used to, I don't like it, I don't know what it is. It's like when you walk in the museum and on the wall, it gives you a little explanation. It's like, this is what you're about to see. In case you don't
There it is.
understand it,
Yep.
it's got a little hip-hop, it's got a little R&B, but it's meant to be also sort of pop. So you're like, oh yeah, I can see, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
I have a place I can put this new sound, this new thing.
Absolutely.
You're open.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll break down how Poison was made. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to One Song Luxury. Walk us through Poison. Tell us, how did Poison get made?
All right, well, I alluded earlier that there was a producer situation, and the sort of story that unfolded as I was doing a little research is that while there is one sole songwriter and producer on this song, and this person's name is Dr. Freeze, and his name is Elliot Strait. He gets 100% of the songwriting credit. He's credited on all the artwork and everything. There were actually 3 different producers who participated in the song we all know and love. And some of that information's got a little bit buried over time. And there's one person in particular who seems to almost have been like erased from the story. So we want to give him his flowers. You've heard his name before because he gets a name drop at the top of the song.
Yep.
But basically, Dr. Freeze is the 100% songwriting credit. So he tells the story that he wrote this song because he wanted to do it for his own record. And so he and his partner, who I'll just say his name, it's Spider-Man. So you get Spider-Man and Freeze in full effect.
Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Spider-Man, that's his name.
Spider-Man.
He gets name dropped at the top of the song,
yeah, Spider-Man and Freeze in full effect.
but he gets dropped somewhere along the way. He gets dropped from the way the story gets continued to tell, including the money that comes from it. That's a bit of a mystery. I don't know why that is, but he seems to be a part of this song being made story, so I want to make sure he gets his flowers. And anyway, I do believe him and Elliot Strait, Dr. Freeze, worked on the song together. I think that the two of them were going to do their own record, and at a certain point, they're like, well, it's taking too long. Let's offer it to Al B. Sure. And Al B. Sure heard the song and said, I don't like this song.
Damn.
They offered Poison to Al B.
Yeah,
Sure.
and Al B. Sure turned it down.
I'm so glad he did. I'm so
I'll
glad.
be sure he was
Yeah,
like
it would've
Mr.
been a different
Falsetto.
world.
Yeah,
anyway.
he was, you know what I'm saying? He was I could, thank you, Albie Shore.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta know your lane. That's
No,
all
he-
that is.
You're right. His literal quote was, "That's my old style." Like he's like, "I'm not doing that anymore."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they're like, "Okay, I
By the
guess."
way, I gotta say something about Dr. Freeze. He was a hit machine. This man also wrote and produced "I Want to Sex You
Yes.
Up" by Color Me Bad. People forget how controversial that song was, and I just got to point this out because you were talking about listening to stuff on the radio. I used to listen to, I'm going to use shorthand, I used to listen to the black radio station, I used to listen to the white pop radio station, and I noticed that there were two different versions of I Want to Sex You Up, because on the white version, it was like, you know, girl, come in, take off your clothes, I'll make you feel at home.
Come inside, take off your coat, I'll make you feel at home.
But then when you turn to the black radio station, the chorus, hey, beautiful lady. Like,
Hey, beautiful lady, I need you tonight.
I was like, wait, they got two different versions of I Want to Set You Up? People forget how like balkanized like radio was back then. They're two totally different versions.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Dr. Freeze was a genius. Please continue.
No, that's important information. All right.
That is important information.
I did promise you there'd be a third producer in the mix, and we already talked about him. That's Hank Shockley. So Shockley on the album Poison, which has 9 songs on it, he's got him and the Bomb Squad do half the songs. They don't do this one in theory, but in actuality, it was brought to them to remix. And so there's an original version. I was hoping to track down the pre-Hank Shockley version of Poison. I could not find it anywhere. Somewhere in the world, there exists the version that Hank Shockley heard and was like, I gotta beef this up. It's not hard enough. So think about what Public Enemy sounds like in your head. And the hardness of this song in many ways comes from a handful of things, but certainly the drum samples are a big, big part of it. So we're gonna get to the stems in a second, but just to finish the story of how the song got made and who made it, it's really 3 producers. It's not just Dr. Freeze, it's also Spider-Man, it's also Hank Shockley and the Bomb Squad. So just to get this one quote, Shockley goes, I got my hands on the song Poison. When it came to me, the record was very mellow and laid back. I'm dying to hear this version. Anyone out there in internet land can like find the copy
DM
of it.
us.
I would
DM
love
us.
to hear what this mellow...
DM us that. Because
Yeah.
what y'all like to DM us, I don't know about that stuff, but if you can DM us this information, that'd be really
I want to hear this like mellow, laid-back version of this song. That's kind of crazy to try to envision. So they boosted it up. They wanted to give it more of a hip-hop element. And so that was the story of how the song got made, who
Yeah.
made it, yeah.
First off, I want to say I want to hear the drums isolated because there is nothing. I was a DJ for years, and there are a few songs that you can the audience will immediately recognize just from hearing that first
Call outs. Call outs.
Like that came in so hard.
Call outs.
So can we hear some drums?
It's the iconic intro. I'm going to play you how it sounds when you hear it in the world, and then I'm going to break it down for you so you can hear the component parts. So the song starts like this. So what's going on there? We got a few things happening. We've got this drum, the snare. I'm going to tell you where this comes from in a second, but here's just the snare. I'm kind of missing something, right? What's it missing? Well, one thing it's missing is
808?
It's missing the 808, which is a kick drum and bass content. And I'll play that isolated and I'll explain what that means. Underneath that is this. And note how it's doing doom, 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 doom. So it's a kick drum. It's the 808 drum machine. And if you play boom, cat, you'll hear the boom. You can actually have a pitch. And this is not the first time on this show we've talked about it. That happens on Lucid Dreams. It happens on a handful of songs. It happens on the Doja Cat song. In this era, though, in 1990, it's kind of a new thing. This is a new thing that's being discovered, that you can tune, and one reason you need to do it is because it takes up such a big part of the sonic space, you can't also have a bass necessarily there. So they're innovating in this moment. It's late 80s, early 90s, and by the way, I mentioned Hank Shockley from Public Enemy. He has also been using the 808 in Public Enemy records. There is no bass. The only bass in
He's
those
been waiting
Public
to play
records.
some bass.
The only bass in those records is the 808 kick drum.
Yeah.
So that's happening underneath. I'll play them together, and now you'll hear that they're all along. There have been these two things working together. Boom, 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 boom. So it's like a bass
I
line.
would have never heard that last note before you isolated it. Now I can't unhear it. I'm like that. Doom, 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 doom. Like now it
Yeah.
seems very
Yeah.
prominent, but I
Yeah.
didn't notice that before.
Okay, and here, there's one more thing happening in the mix. It's that very prominent, that hit at the end. Unfortunately, I spent hours going down the rabbit hole. I could not find which hit this comes from. I'll play it for you. So that's
easy.
clearly sampled from.
James Brown.
It might be James Brown, but I couldn't verify. Which James Brown track do you think it is? Because you might be right. I just couldn't verify it.
Da, da.
Play it again.
It very well
It could be any song.
It could be.
It could be
almost
any
anything.
James Brown song.
It could be
with
almost
tempo to it.
anything. It could be I Feel
You think
Good.
this-
It might
this
be.
young man thinks
You
this I
might
Feel
be
Good?
right. You
He
might
might
be
listen.
right. One thing I'm fairly sure about, though, is that snare is also sampled from James Brown. This snare. 99%
What
sure.
did they do to that last snare? Play it again.
Yeah. So I'm going to slow that down for you. Check this out. There is probably a slap delay so that each snare has this kind of thing after it. This is that same beat halftime. You hear how every time there's a snare, there's a da-da.
Because when they
da-da.
cut the sample,
It could be cutting off the thing that comes next in the snare sample.
left the piece because it sounds like the piece is running throughout the first hits,
Yeah.
first snare hits, but then in the last hit they shorten it.
I think and at that time, your ability to perfectly craft where the beginning and end of a sample
Exactly.
is very
We
limited.
couldn't see waveforms.
You couldn't
Absolutely.
see the waveforms.
Yeah.
But here's where
That's
it's coming
great.
from.
That
love that.
slowdown. You boy, you're
Yeah,
a
exactly. That
genius.
was dope.
I spent a lot of time. It's so fun, though.
It was worth the rabbit hole.
I like nothing more in life than to do this. Sad but true. And here is the James Brown song I'm fairly sure that snare comes from. This is Escapism from Hot Pants, 1971. And that's your
That's
classic.
it. There it is.
That's your classic break. When you've got moments like that in a record where there's nothing else going on, it's like, oh, I can use this.
Grab it.
And Marley Marr is one of the innovators of like just taking a single snare, a single kick, and starting to piece them together. And the Bomb Squad is another one. And Hank Shockley worked on this song. So pretty sure Hank Shockley is selecting the snare, producing the snare. And I also think one last thing I will play, because it's the beat in full. There's another kick that enters, which is also sampled. Here it is, the regular beat throughout the rest of the song. Yeah. That also sounds like a sampled kick that's been pitched down.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly to your point, you can kind of hear the sound that comes after that you can't like take out.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think that's what's going on in the drums is we have two samples, kick and snare. We have that sound, that hit sound of mysterious origin. And last but not least, we have that is the isolated sample. And I will tell you the origin of this Poison sample, which happens 38 times throughout the song.
You mean it's not just one of them saying poison?
What's that?
One of
It's-
them couldn't just say poison?
They-
This is a sample too?
It's one of those things where, like, why did you sample it if you could have just, part of it, I think, is an homage to the original.
Yeah.
And it's not a coincidence that the original that this is sampled from is a song called Poison. And I will play that for you right now. This is Kool G Rap, 1988 song Poison, Kool G Rap and DJ Polo.
This is poison, so be alert and cautious. Don't so outrageous, you won't get nauseous.
No.
Infected or contaminated.
I thought it was
What? I thought it was one of them saying it the whole time.
They're like,
could have been.
nah, let's get Kool G Rap to say this.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, this is also a moment where sampling, there are certainly lawsuits starting to happen.
There weren't rules.
But it was
back
the Wild
then.
West.
It was the Wild
There
West.
were no rules.
They
It was
could
never-
take that and keep it pushing. a
And-
la Dr. Dre.
Absolutely true. No, that's really true. And especially in this moment, one could consider it an homage to the original, props. This is my lineage. I'm part of a tradition. And he's in the video. Kool G Rap is in the video.
Oh,
but go back and watch the video in the dancing scene in the like underground shelter or wherever they are at the very end. It's Kool G Rap who's doing it. Kool G Rap is doing it.
So he accepted it.
He accepted it.
He accepted it.
Exactly right.
Good for him.
Exactly
I still
right.
want my money.
Fair point.
I'm gonna pull
Fair
up to
point.
the video, but I need my money.
We have the isolated vocals. We gotta hear some vocals.
Let's go to those.
Let's play some vocals.
Let's start with the iconic intro.
Yeah, Spider-Man and freezing full effect.
Spider-Man, where'd you go?
I never knew what he said
I'm
right
ready.
there.
Spider-Man and freeze.
I actually think he
The
said
mystery
something
of
like
Spider-Man.
spotted little poison full effect. Like, I didn't know what the fuck he said. I'm learning so much.
Yeah, Spider-Man and freezing full effect.
You ready, Ron?
I'm ready.
You ready, Biv?
I'm ready, Slick. Are you?
Oh yeah. Break it down.
Girl, I must warn you. I sense something strange in my mind.
Yeah.
Yo,
Situation is serious. Let's cure it cause we're running out of time.
I imagine them in the booth going, serious. Harmonizing on serious. That's pretty good.
That is a choir. No,
That
no,
is choir.
it's
That
a
is
church.
It's like you said, it is church. That's what it is.
church.
Absolutely.
Wow. Can you play me some of the chorus, because I feel like there's a lot of harmonizing on the chorus. I think it's like right
All
there.
right, let's start the pre-chorus and then the chorus.
Yeah.
It's driving me out of my mind. That's why it's hard for me to find. Can't get it out of my head. Miss her, kiss her, love
Wrong
her.
move, you're dead.
That girl is poison.
That's choir. It's a
Just a
choir.
big button to smile. That girl is poison.
Wonderful
Here's-
rendition.
Here's a rare moment where the hook isn't the hook.
Yes, I
Yeah.
know where you're going with this. Go.
There are two hooks
Yeah.
before the actual hook.
It's driving me.
That's the second hook.
Okay.
The first hook is the intro, the call out.
Okay.
There are rare moments where the intro, the first 5 seconds of a song, does everything you need it to do.
Yeah.
It's as soon as you hear, "Ba, ka, ka, ta," it's immediate.
You have
but
no
then,
choice but to do that.
You're
No
not
choice.
supposed to do
you
that.
gotta go low.
You're
too.
supposed to know, oh, my song is coming on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is a call to action, right? And then the second hook is the pre-chorus, which is stronger than the
Yeah.
hook.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Are you saying that the hook though is the drum intro? Like, just to be clear?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Absolutely.
And how rare is that a drum fill is a hook?
It's a hook.
It's a hook. It's an absolute hook. It's so joyful.
You could never play that right there in any other moment and people not assume that it's that. I don't
Yeah.
care if you make a new song with that.
Absolutely.
They're always going to refer back to that. But the B section is the choir moment where the choir, wherever you are, altos, sopranos, and tenors, you're going to sing this to the top of your lungs. The top. Nobody sings the B section to the top of their lungs. They wait for the hook.
Right.
It's the hook, because the hook is only poison.
Yeah, you know what? That is the chorus. But what draws you in is that pre-chorus.
Fucking B section, man.
That's amazing.
It's the energy change. It is ironic. Like in retrospect, like when you think about a chorus, you're usually building to it, and that's the peak, that's the pinnacle. But in this case, we had the peak in the pre, and then we kind of chilled out a little bit in the chorus. We got laid back a little bit, laid back and mellow,
Oh my
right? The
God.
original version.
And then another call out, never trust a big button to smile.
But you know, there's a whole rap in this song.
Oh,
Can
yeah,
we hear
it
some of the
sure
rap?
is.
Let's hear it.
It sure is.
Here's DeVoe's DeVoe's rap. I said that because there's the low pro ho moment.
It's some scary moments in this rap. I want to point that
We're
out.
ready to that.
You ready?
poison, deadly, moving in slow. Looking for a mellow fellow like DeVoe getting paid, laid, so better lay low. Scheming on Hot's money and the whole show. The low pro ho should be cut like an afro. So what you saying, huh? She's a winner to you, but I know she's a loser.
How do you know?
Me and the crew used to do her.
So
Okay, let's talk. We have to talk about that. The elephant in the room. We have to talk about the elephant in the room.
She's a loser?
It's not very nice. It's not very nice, this song.
just be glad we're not doing Do Me on this episode.
Hey,
that song may
that'll
have
get
aged worse.
crazy. Me and the crew.
Who wrote the rap? Who wrote the rap?
So there's a little bit of controversy about that. I found a quote. I mean, it's an interview that's out there and widely circulated. So Kwame says that
with the polka dots.
he says that he got the demo. He said, "quote unquote," it sounded terrible to me. Bivens gave him the demo, and he said it sounded terrible. And he's like, "Well, where did the raps go?" And Bivens said, "You know, in the empty spaces and stuff." And so Kwame said he was with Dana Dane and his friend Dougie, who I'm not sure if that
Wow.
was maybe Dougie Fresh, I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Gotta
And he
be.
goes, look, I just need some rhymes in it. And Dana was like, I can write some rhymes for that. Dougie was a rapper too. So basically Kwame and Dana Dane and a handful of other
That's
people
crazy.
sat in the car and wrote the raps apparently. But they're also uncredited. I just found this out because I found an interview where he talks about it.
I just want to say just for the record, I don't think she's a loser.
We agree.
Sure.
I think she's sure about
don't
the
sex shame.
decisions that she wants to make
Yeah.
in her life.
Absolutely.
She
She's
decided
empowered.
everyone in the crew
Deserves to know
they need
biblical knowledge. Yeah, we
just want to throw
agree.
that out there.
We agree.
Live how you want to live.
Yeah.
Be free.
Yeah.
The music is so good.
So good. So good.
Is there anything else out of the vocals, or with the little bit of time that we have, do you want to play us maybe something from the keys? Or?
Sure, I was going to say.
yeah.
This is a very minimal, sparse song. So you've actually heard like 80% of the sound at this point. That isn't the vocals. There are 3 synth parts, but they only happen in the verse, pre-chorus, and chorus. You never hear them at the same time. So in the verse, this is what you hear. This is the beats, the bass, and the vocals, and this. That's it. It's just this kind of classic.
Less
I think
is
this is
more kind of
M1.
vibe.
That's on a
Yeah.
keyboard?
I think it's a Korg M1.
What do you know about a Korg M1?
I know a little bit about the Korg M1. And I think this bass line, we almost forgot about the bass line. That's insane.
Play the bass line.
That's insane.
Yeah,
What am
you
I
can't talk
thinking?
about this song
Yeah.
without the bass line. Go.
It's shaking the room as you want.
This makes me so happy.
And if you're
I
going
mean,
to
you
play...
can't help but move to that.
You can't
know
help
what I
but move
mean?
to it.
Running Man, Cabbage Patch.
But don't forget, that's not even the best part of the
No,
bass line.
no. I know.
We all,
It's coming.
we all know this is the best part of the song. Fight Me.
Yeah. Okay, so can we point out
Yeah.
for us music guys in here with relative or perfect pitch
I'm so glad I know what you're about to say, and I'm so glad you bring it up.
that top 808 is out of key.
So here's what I think happened. This is a little speculation, but one of my rabbit holes led me to this production forum where a guy who doesn't name himself says, "Hey, I worked on that record. Here's what they did." So with that caveat in mind, I agree with you that dun dun dun. That's a little sharp because this is also, I think, the 808 pitched imperfectly because it's the year that it is.
And it only shows up at the top, maybe.
And you're playing it on an MPC, not a keyboard. They're playing it on the pads of an MPC, which
Yeah.
is a drum machine. So
That was
there's,
going to be my question. I was like, is there somebody playing the guitar?
No. It's yeah.
they're just
Yeah.
pitching the sample to the different pads of this drum machine, and they got to dun dun dun. It's a little sharp, but who cares? In the mix, you don't even notice it, but you noticed it. That's really impressive.
But the other part says, who cares?
But it doesn't matter.
We're already dancing.
It doesn't matter.
I'm drunk. Like, am I really gonna call
Had
out
you-
the 808?
Had you noticed that before? By the way, I'm curious.
No, absolutely
Yeah,
not.
I never did
I'm
either.
just hearing this for the first time.
That's another thing that I love about the show is we go back to these old songs, and it reminds all the producers and songwriters,
Yeah.
perfection is not
Don't chase
freaking
it.
that important.
Yeah.
Perfection
In this
is
age
not.
of Pro Tools, yeah.
Perfection is not linear. Perfection is a combination of things that come together to do the right thing.
Right.
A bunch of things that are imperfect. Like it won't be the perfect lyric, not the perfect track, not the perfect melody, not the perfect words. But for some reason, all of these things together at one time
Right.
do something really
The
special.
perfection is that the way they came together, it was meant to be that way.
Meant to be.
But all of the component parts have these little like sloppy
Absolutely.
timing, rhythmic, and imperfections.
Absolutely.
One
Yeah.
of the things that we love about this show is that when you get into the stems, you notice what things they like bury in the mix, things that get completely left out. It doesn't matter who we talk about. Like Prince, Let's Go Crazy, another classic.
Right.
There's so many things that are buried in that mix that you know he was just like, but that
Like imperfect or in the red or distorted
Yes.
or too loud, too soft. But like,
Crazy stuff.
it's Let's Go Crazy by Prince, and there's nothing wrong with it. In spite of, so that sort of the lesson to producers and songwriters working today is just because your tool set allows you to like within an inch of its life, tune it, perfect it, put it on the grid, that isn't going to necessarily make it better. It might actually make it worse.
Yeah.
It's James Brown.
It's James
It's James Brown. Does it
Pocket.
feel good?
If it feels good.
Does it sound good? Then it is good.
I just rewatched Hot Tub, the Eddie Murphy. The other day. It's so good. It's gonna make you sweat. Is it gonna make you wet?
Check in, hot tub. Sure, make sense. We want to say something about. We should just talk about that for the next 10 minutes because we want to talk about the legacy of BBD. And you said something back here when we were in hair and makeup, and you were noticing I was getting my eyebrows trimmed. Just saying,
They're nice. They're nice.
Perfect eyebrows.
how could you? How you're on tour with Tyrese? That's the most normal thing you're gonna see all day. Like, come on, man. I love Tyrese. Tyrese, don't fight me. Here's my question.
That's my friend. It's my friend.
Tyrese
None
and
of us are
Genuine,
perfect.
you
We
get
come
to be
together
like-
to do something great.
You get to be the straight man. You get to just be like, oh, I'll let those guys be in the news. Listen, you mentioned that this group, BBD, had such an effect on the rest of the 90s.
Yeah.
And I wanted you to elaborate on that because I think that they helped R&B evolve to this new level. They influenced a whole generation. I would argue that Boyz II Men, Drew Hill, Jodeci, like all of them sort of got a little piece of that BBD
Yeah.
in what they did. So can you just say that for our
Well,
listeners?
well, I think it was two things. It was edge, right? You didn't know that melody, really dope and sweet melody, could exist with that sort of edge all at the same time.
Yeah.
Driving me out of my mind. Like that's
sweet.
That's sweet.
But them drums are
But
coming
then,
in.
but then everything under
Yeah.
was
It's hard. Yeah, and dirty.
It was
Right,
mugging
they're sampling it.
you.
Yeah, muddy, and they're like
but
dirty.
off giving you a rose at the same time. Like
you were giving her a rose, but you were
You know what I'm
mean
saying?
mugging her. You were like,
you
"This
look
for
good
you.
tonight.
Hey, this for you. No,
Like
I hear it.
it made you understand that these things could coexist.
Yeah.
And so that gave us kind of superiority in a sense, which is why we were dominating so crazy because we combined those things so well.
Yeah.
That R&B and hip hop. I mean, go back to Keith Sweat, like with the New Jack Swing, and I wanna.
So glad you brought that up.
Like, come on, you hear the edge, you hear the funk on that? Like, he's not smiling when he's saying, I wanna. Like, all of that, like, we were able to be, it's this form of aggressive sexy that we were able
Right.
to own, which I think dominated
It's like another
the
color,
90s.
though. It's like, you know, if they were sort of separated before, like you have like a new combination. This is
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
for the palette of sonic combinations.
If we go to Jodeci, you know what I'm saying? Like, forever, my lady. Why is he saying it so loud? It's like a dream. I'm holding you close, keeping you warm.
I'm right next to you. Shut up.
Why is he yelling like that?
He was yelling.
Why is he yelling? You and I. So it's like this
Remember
level.
what they
of-
did lately on Unplugged?
with
Like, there's so many wishes. Like, they took a Stevie Wonder song.
They are.
And they went there with the aggressive.
It is
aggressive sexy. as you
Aggressive
put it.
sexy.
Write a song called Aggressive Sexy.
I'll try.
Okay.
I'll try.
Do we want to say anything about Michael Bivins, his role as an A&R? Do we have time for that?
Yeah, you have some
I
thoughts on
I
it?
think Michael Bivins doesn't always get like recognized as like he kind of like he did Another Bad Creation. Obviously had huge success with
Boyz II Men.
Boyz II Men, you know, and you had a story that I did not know. Can
yeah.
you tell us quickly because people don't realize Jump by Criss Cross is technically a diss track.
Right.
Like it starts off, don't try to compare us to another bad little fad. Like apparently Jermaine Dupri and Michael Bivins were always like
Yeah, no.
this.
They got a great interview recently on the Breakfast Club where Bivins is talking about how he's trying to take credit, and maybe rightfully so. I don't mean like to imply otherwise, but like the backwards thing that Criss Cross made famous. He's calling attention to the fact that on the cover of the single of this album, he's wearing the New Edition jacket backwards. And that was 1990, and Criss Cross is 91. So he's out there going, he's like, even to this day on the Breakfast Club, like recently, he's like, I'm the one who invented the backwards. I brought that style in the mainstream. So he was a fashion innovator as well as like mixing genres and everything else. he did.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had something to add to that. Pooh Bear, one of the greatest songwriters of our generation, was a rapper, and he was friends with a couple of the guys from Another Bad Creation.
Okay.
He was a fanatic of Another Bad Creation, loved them to death. And when Criss Cross came out with this song, dissing Another Bad Creation, he wrote a diss back to them, right?
Okay.
And let his friend, who's in ABC, hear his rap. His friend kept saying, hey man, say that rap again. Mind you, they're in 7th grade. Like, say that rap again. He said, oh, okay, that's good. Could you say it one more time? He looks up. No, it was before that. He looks up and he's listening to it. One of his friends comes to him and say, hey, remember that rap you used to say? He said, yeah. He said, that's on Another Bad Creation. They got your rap.
What?
Their rap that they're rapping to go back on the compilation, the Biv 10 compilation, whatever the Biv
Biv 10, yeah.
the compilation, that song dissing Criss Cross back, Pooh Bear wrote the rap.
No.
That's wild.
That's wild. He's a 7th grader.
It was stolen
How?
from him. He said they just disappeared. He said they were his friends, and then all of a sudden they disappeared.
Intrigue.
Couldn't find them. And his rap shows up, but he's in 7th grade. He's like, I don't know what to do. My rap is on an album. I don't know about lawyers and publishing and shit like that. He's like, oh, well, it's just gone. He's like, and honestly, I didn't even tell anybody. That's going to come up on the R&B Money podcast. He'll tell the full story. But when you said that, I had to interject.
That's funny about that story and the other one, the one I just told you about the Kwame. It's like at this time was like rap still like hard to do. Like people had a hard time writing raps, so they needed help from 7th graders. Car full of Dana Danes.
I'm the father of a 7th grader, and he's written no rap, so I can't really respect him. Get it together, Cal. Get it together.
You can't respect him.
We're more than a decade into rap at this point. It's still hard to do. What's happening?
I will say, I found out the other day that my 7th grader actually does have a song on Spotify.
Oh, he does?
Yeah,
Right,
like you
really?
know, he loaded it up and everything. Young Posh.
That's a great name.
Young
we can cut
Posh
this if we want.
is your son?
Young Posh is my son. He's gonna be so mad because he thinks that song is unfinished. I guess his teacher put it up on Spotify. Anyway, that is neither here nor there.
Shout out to
Tank.
Young Posh.
Shout out to the 7th grade rappers.
My nigga Young
He's gonna be so
Posh.
mad. He's gonna be so mad. Sorry, son. Listen, Tank, before we end the show, we want to play a game with you, sir.
Yep.
You've said some wild stuff recently.
Yes,
all right?
I am a wild sayer.
When you appeared on the Stephen A. Smith show, you argued that, quote, you know what's coming, Chris Brown is better than Michael Jackson.
I said it with my chest.
Do we have that clip? Do we have that clip?
Chris Brown is, in fact, better than Michael Jackson.
What? Do you understand what you're saying? Tank, do you understand what you're saying, my man? I mean, you admired, you're revered, you're associated with music, my brother.
You made the man
You made him
speechless.
so happy.
So
And by the way,
speechless.
that is Stephen A. Smith so happy.
Could not get any words out.
He was flabbergasted.
He was flabbergasted.
He couldn't believe I said it. He couldn't believe I stood on it.
Well, I was going to say, this went viral. People cared a lot. The internet got heated up. Just for our audience here and anyone who may be upset, is there anything you want to say to back up that take? Uh-oh.
Here's what I will say. The only piece that I will probably retract, because I was breaking it down in gifts. The only piece that I'll probably retract that I said Chris was a better songwriter. And I want to take that part, I want to scale that part back. I think in terms of songwriting, they're equally as great. Because Chris Brown is credited on pretty much every top 10, top 20 record he has as a songwriter or a producer. And Michael, to his credit, is credited on Billie Jean and some other iconics, We Are the World shit. And so he's, as a writer, he's no Rudy Poo. He's a real guy.
Listen,
so I can't.
When you listen to those Michael demos where like he's like just scatting out
Absolutely.
Billie Jean and you know some of these other great hits, you're like, oh, I thought no, people weren't just coming to Michael with just a song written and Quincy Jones in the booth. No, Michael was coming up with.
He was orchestrating. He didn't write Thriller, but you know,
but he did Stardust.
Rod Temperton, you know,
yeah, from Heatwave.
Temperton is a guy who was also very
slept on.
Michael had the best of the best at all times, but that started because he was such a prodigy of a human being. Yes. Like he was already something special by the age of 9, right? Yeah. And so he was already successful by the age of 9. TV show, music, animation, He was already that. So the resources that were available to him were just unlimited. Anything Michael could think of, I'm just going to call John Landis. Like, that's the equivalent of saying, let me call Steven Spielberg and make a movie.
A multi-million-dollar music video.
A music video at that.
Not even a movie. Yeah.
Like, that's just, people don't have that at their disposal. So again, if we're going gift for gift, then this is just what I believe. I believe Chris Brown is a better singer because of evolution. Now, if Michael Jackson had grew up in the church, would he be as acrobatic as Chris Brown? Probably, because he would have learned that thing. But that wasn't his thing. Did Michael create a vocal nuance that became his own? Absolutely, but that was a combination of James Brown and some other pieces.
Fair
Michael
point.
made his voice an instrument rather than.
Would there be a Chris Brown without a Michael Jackson, though?
I don't think so.
So now you're going to greatness and influence. That's not what I'm arguing.
That's a fair point.
No one will
You're just
ever
saying
be
sheer talent, gift for gift. That's
no
what
one
you're
will ever be greater than Michael Jackson. We will never scratch
I don't know if
the
we'll ever
surface.
see that again. Yeah.
We will never.
saying. We got the room back.
Never scratch.
But I think he's about to lose the room because we're going to play a game called Maybe You Deserve the Smoke. We're going to name a category, and you're going to tell us who's better in that category, all right?
Shit.
You've got 30 seconds to answer, to come up with the answer and
Why
say
has it got to be a time? Why can't
Because
it
this is because the artifice, bro. We got to go for it.
All right.
Okay, here we go. First question: who's got the best voice, Brandy or Monica?
Brandy.
Yeah, we're going there.
Monica, my sis. I love her. I love both of them.
So Monica's the best voice?
I used to ride listening to Brandy's first album. I used to drive every day listening to that album. Every day. Vocal. Okay, sorry.
Moving on. Who's the best dancer, Beyonce or Janet?
Janet.
Want to elaborate?
I don't think I have to.
I could do this all day. This should be the whole show. Can I ask this next one?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Who's got the better catalog, D'Angelo or Maxwell?
Shit. Easy. D'Angelo.
Maxwell, call us up, man.
Did we lose the room? What are the thoughts?
What do y'all think?
What do we think
Okay,
there?
he said D'Angelo's got the better catalog. If you agree, clap your hands. If you disagree, boo this man.
I'm unfazed. I'm so unfazed by that. Completely.
Maybe you want to give a quick answer why you think that.
I will say this.
Yes.
Untitled, How Does It Feel is one of the best R&B songs
Right.
ever.
Yes.
Ever. You add Raphael Sadiq and D'Angelo and you put them in the same room and no one else, nobody on this earth can fuck with them. It is just a rap. And you gotta, like, I want you to A and B what you think Maxwell's best. I love Maxwell. Don't do anything that. I want you to A and B what you think Maxwell's best song is in your mind, and then play Untitled, How Does It Feel? I want you to play all 6 minutes. And you tell me how you feel.
I heard a woman's worth over here.
After you listen to both those songs.
This should have been its own show. But Tank, I just want to thank you for coming on One Song, joining us here in Vegas.
Everyone give it up for Tank.
Make some noise for Tank.
Give it up for Tank.
Nope. And
Shout out to Resorts World for hosting.
No, you
Can I say this?
Yes.
You guys are dope, man.
Oh, thank you, man.
Thanks.
You guys are
We appreciate
really,
it, Tank.
you guys are
Thank
really
you.
fucking dope, bro.
Thank you.
Really fucking dope. Like this is
nice of you to
this
say.
is awesome, bro. I love this.
We just like to get together and nerd out about some music.
And that's what's missing. Like the reason we started our podcast was for the information, the stories, and not the shock value and all the. And your baby mama said that you ain't shit. Like who? That has nothing to do with.
She didn't know what she was talking about.
I've been there. We'll talk. But you know, you gotta give the future. You got to give them bullet points. You got to give them the history so that they are able to figure out where and how they play a part in taking what we do now to the next level. And what you guys are doing is extremely important, man. And thank you.
Oh,
Thank
man.
you
Thank
for
you
this,
so
man.
much. Yeah. Give it up for Tank again. Hey, can we put Tank's graphic up here real quick? Tell the people how they can support you and how we can, support R&B Money.
I would like for you to subscribe to the R&B Money podcast, which is the authority on all things R&B. as we continue to give information the same way these guys are giving information, we got Dionne Warwick coming up this week, which is probably, she's the bridge. She's the reason why we're here. She's it.
She's fantastic.
She's it. She went on a string of 15 years of just hit records.
I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't say we have one more thing we want to do.
Talk to me.
Today is Luxury's birthday.
Uh-oh. It's a luxury that we get to hang out with you.
Birthday. Can we all sing happy birthday to Luxury, everybody? Can we all give the Post Sisters some money? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you.
Y'all should.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Luxury. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, you guys are, that's really sweet. Thank you.
Yeah. And everybody, one more time, give it up for Tank.
Thank you, Tank.
And thank you, One Song Nation, for coming out to see us. Give yourself one more round of applause.